1968 with a sense of irony, of course, because I would have welcomed more substantive transformation than we actually experienced. But what I was referring to was the paucity of our understanding of what it means to change the world and change human beings. Had we been able to change, say, the economic apparatus, I don't know if I would have wanted a socialism that would continue to be as heteropatriarchal and as racist as the capitalism that we had. So I was simply pointing to the fact that over the decades, the cumulative knowledge that we have acquired has allowed younger activists to grasp the complicated process of bringing about change, of making change happen. And I don't think if we had a revolution today that it would be a simplistic, mechanical revolution that would simply change one aspect of our society. And I'm thinking about a point that Vijay Prahad made in, I think it was the morning session this morning, that we're, the change that we want may not be a change that's available to us right now or in our lifetimes. But it's a change that human beings, it's a revolution that human beings who follow us will have a chance to experience in ways that we are experiencing the change that was fought for by people who were slaves, by people who fought colonialism, people who had a vision of a better society. Maybe not exactly, hopefully not the society that we inhabit today, but at the same time, we would not be able to live in the way we live today and think about the future in the way we think about the future had not it been for the struggles of people who could not have even imagined our existence. So the question is how we think about a continuum. How do we think about ourselves as participating in the creation of a continuum that will eventually bring radical change to the world? And this means that we have to think in terms of dimensions that have not historically been attended to in the way they should have, I believe, by revolutionary movements. It means being attentive to a kind of spiritual dimension. And the fact that even though we may no longer be present in the form that we exist today, when these changes happen, we will have a spiritual presence in the same way that we thank those who came before us, who struggled against racism and against sexism. So I think that that is our hope. And I don't know whether we would have understood that in 1968. I don't know that we would have understood how important it is to have artists at the forefront of revolutionary change. Artists who are often able to represent that which we do not yet know how to conceptualize. So in a sense, artists, music, visual artists should be at the forefront of revolutionary change, because they help us to imagine where it is we think we want to go. And so I think the last question, that kind of helps us think about the demographic changes that you were referring to in your question. And in terms of the second question about whether I sometimes want to stay at home, of course. But, everybody gets tired sometimes. And so you rest. You rest for a little while. There's nothing to say that those of us who are organizing for change don't need to rest. It has never occurred to me that I could live a more meaningful life, that I could live a life filled with greater pleasure if I did not continue to engage in these struggles for social justice. When people ask me that question, I simply say, activism should be a way in which people learn how to live their lives. So it's not about, I'll do this for 2 years and then I get tired, so I'll stop. But it's also about learning how to find pleasure and joy in the work that you do, not assuming that organizing work, that work as an artist, that work as an educator that you do to bring about social change somehow somehow has to be set aside when you decide that you need to feel joy, that you need to feel pleasure. So, how can we find this sense of fulfillment in the process of doing that work? And at the same time, you need to take care of yourself, I mean, I do yoga, I do Pilates, I do all kinds of things. I love music, so I go to concerts all the time. I work with the San Francisco Jazz Center, and so I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it even more, I think, the older I get.
Alors, celle-là, ça va être vraiment difficile. Je ne vais pas traduire.